Thank you. Welcome all. Good afternoon, all of you, and also good afternoon to those who are attending online, because we have a bigger turnout online because we have some people. We have people from Africa. It's good timing, as I talked to Sharif. That's a good timing for African friends to attend online as well. We have also online attendance from other jurisdictions. So today, without further ado, I would like to introduce my very good friend and old friend, Danny, for giving us his very precious time for joining us today on our Fireside Chat dedicated to maritime dispute resolution and maritime arbitration. And Danny, I have known him for more than 2 decades. And every time we met, we discussed this at table side, not fireside, at a dinner table mainly. So we have many gatherings and we exchange a lot, and I enjoy, and I have learned a lot from Danny over the last 2 decades on maritime dispute and arbitration. I found that maritime arbitration is very technical, and because first, a lot of jargons you have to memorize as an outsider. At the beginning, I have to keep learning, reading books written by Danny. Like this big book is also written by Danny. And I just found that a lot of some of our attendees are just looking for Danny. Of course, the first thing is mentioned is this book. This book has helped many generations of Chinese maritime practitioners. So this is a very important textbook in China. It's written in Chinese, but teaching common law, and specifically for maritime dispute. So it's very good experience sharing, and Danny may share more. And I just briefly introduce more about Danny. Danny, I have a very long CV, of course, and Danny worked for a shipping company as a director of the legal department. I just learned from the CV.
So when I left the company.
Yeah, you have left.
At the time when I left the company.
So the very eye-catching title of Danny is it has an independent arbitrator. But I used to work with arbitration center for 2 decades, and actually as well. Many people ask me, how can I get a qualification as an arbitrator? Can I put arbitrator on my name card saying that Dennis, arbitrator, famous arbitrator, independent arbitrator? Can I do that? Yes, you may. But the point is that if you become a full-time arbitrator, I was told that in Hong Kong there are very few full-time arbitrators. Why? Because you have to survive. So most of the arbitrators are part-time, right? If you're a full-time arbitrator, not many in Hong Kong.
But let me try to correct you.
Am I
you
right?
have nothing to do, and you call yourself as arbitrator, then you will be a full-time arbitrator.
Okay, okay. That was joking. Danny is very humble. So I think the general thing is the general rules for arbitrator in Hong Kong. Most of them are part-time. They're associated with a firm, with an organization, company, in-house lawyer. And when the case comes, they will serve as an arbitrator. So I also learned that Bill is also an independent full-time arbitrator. That's very admirable. So that's why I'm imagining one day I will become a full-time arbitrator.
I would like to correct you again.
Okay.
Bill has a very robust practice as an independent arbitrator.
Okay, that's very good. So that's why we have a very good Fireside Chat group here. So just feel free to interrupt me. Maybe Danny, if you have any question or any good point to raise, just feel free to do that. Because why we call it this Fireside Chat series, because it's informal. It's maybe informal than the dinner side. We have a desk side because we don't have a fire here. But it's good that...
It would be better if we have some dishes on the table.
Yes, so that we can do a dinner here next time. Absolutely, it's a good time. So that's why I'm sure Danny has a good experience in arbitration and as an arbitrator, and in particular highly specialized in maritime. I would like to learn more about the current landscape of arbitration. What prompted you to transform yourself as the in-house or the director of a department to a full-time arbitrator?
It is a good question. I have no clue. But after graduating from school, I joined a shipping company, and after 1 month helping the company checking charter parties, doing lay time calculations, and then my boss asked me to follow a London arbitration. And I still recall that the arbitrator, who was a sole arbitrator of that arbitration, was and is still a very renowned arbitrator in London. And at that time, I found that it was very interesting because commercial people actually could resolve their dispute through a professional arbitrator making a decision for the parties. And at that time, at a very low cost. Of course, when we are talking about cost, we just cannot compare the cost that we are now paying, for arbitration, especially for those general commercial arbitration. But in terms of the arbitration, the cost at that time was quite low indeed. And since then, I found that resolving dispute by arbitration was very interesting to me. And then after several years, I made a joke to some of my friends, saying that I hope that one day I could be arbitrator. Because at that time I thought that to be an arbitrator, you have certain, how should I say it, some kind of social status. It makes you like a judge. And only if you have the reputation, then people will appoint you, right? And then I told some of my friends that I would like to be an arbitrator, but it's a joke. No one knows anymore at that time, right? But then suddenly I think in 2000, a ship owners in China, who I did not know at the time, contact me and asked me if I would accept an appointment, which was a London arbitration, to act on behalf of the owners. Then I struggled for a day or two, and then I decided to take up the task and accept the role as the arbitrator. And that in that case, it turned out to be that I became the sole arbitrator of that arbitration, and it was also the case that I first made my award for the dispute, and I still recall that I spent more than two months thinking and drafting the award, trying to. At the time, I hoped that I could do quality work for the parties, showing that you can come to Hong Kong, you can arbitrate your dispute before a Hong Kong practitioner, even though it was a London arbitration. And then thereafter, I don't know why, but I kept on receiving appointments.
That's good because you have a good reputation in the industry already. So that's why because the insiders must know that who are reputable and reliable. That's why before they decided to appoint you as an arbitrator in the London arbitration. That's very interesting to know, because a lot of new arbitrators who are graduated from law school, maybe a lot of people from practicing as an arbitrator and lawyer, they're always struggling to getting the first case as an arbitrator. The point is, it is easy to get on a panel, but it's very difficult to get the first case. The point is, that you even get on any arbitration center's panel, and you got your case. So that's very, very fantastic. This should be.
Maybe when the opportunity came, then you just work hard, try to deliver.
So the opportunity is for those who get well prepared. You have already got yourself well prepared, but you didn't know that there's so many opportunities coming to you. So that's a good story sharing. I've learned a lot, very insightful. Another question I want to ask, I also read a book and also Mr. Philip Yang's book on shipping arbitration. And there was also saying, so arbitration is as good as arbitrators.
Agreed.
If you get a, so what's the role of arbitration center? We are operating a center here, and you operating a center. You are the Hong Kong Maritime Arbitration Group. So the next question is, I was wondering, traditionally, arbitration in maritime industry are resolved on ad hoc basis. Not many institutional involvement. Just two parties have a dispute. They agree to appoint Danny or Bill as the arbitrator. And then you rent a room in a Four Seasons hotel and conducted the hearing, or without the hearing, just exchange of document. And then you make the award, it's enforceable globally. So that's a very powerful thing. And you can do it without the institution.
The fact remains that, at least in my experience, 90% of the maritime arbitrations are actually conducted on an ad hoc basis. And this reflects what the shipping people prefer. They prefer to arbitrate the disputes on an ad hoc basis rather than rather than by way of administered arbitration. And well, I think there may be a number of reasons behind this. I'm not saying that the institutions are not doing the job well. The institutions, I think they have their role. Say, for example, for the selection of suitable arbitrators to become their members in the panel, so that you can provide a list of arbitrators to the parties for choosing. But in the context of maritime dispute and in the context of this very specialized disputes, shipping people would like to arbitrate the dispute on an ad hoc basis. And the reason behind this, I would say, the first, of course, is money. Is money. I think the overall cost of an ad hoc maritime arbitration are still reasonable and affordable than administered arbitration. And besides, I think in ad hoc arbitration, we will not ask the party to make an upfront payment for the tribunal's cost and expenses at the very beginning of the arbitration. But then in administered arbitration, the institutions tend to request the parties to make a hefty sum of money as deposits for the tribunal's cost and expenses, and they would only agree to transfer the case file to the arbitrators after receiving that sort of money. And then during this process, you can imagine that it will take time, and there will be tons of arguments over why I should pay this sort of money, who should pay this sort of money, and asking for reimbursement from the other party if one party paid that sort of money on behalf of the other party. And this takes time, and this is something that shipping people do not like because it will affect their cash flow. And another reason I think is about the commencement of arbitration. In administered arbitration, it will be, in my experience, it will be difficult to commence an arbitration quickly under the administered procedures, and to commence it inexpensively, I would say, inexpensively. The reason why is that in most of the administered arbitration rules, they require the parties to submit a detailed notice of arbitration. And then they require the other party to submit a detailed answers to the notice of arbitration. And all this work
very substantial.
Not only take time, but it is not something that a lay person can do. They need to rely on the lawyer to do the work for them. And then you can imagine the procedures for appointing and completing the tribunal. Also, it would require the parties to invest a lot of time and therefore cost, even before the commencement of arbitration. But in ad hoc arbitration, all you need to do is to appoint your arbitrator, notify the other party of your appointment, asking the other party to appoint their own arbitrator. And if the maritime disputes is to be resolved in accordance with, say, for example, Hong Kong Met terms or the LMA terms, then the tribunal will most probably be established within or after, say, 14 days after the notice of arbitration. Yeah. So you can see, in terms of commencement of arbitration,
it's quicker.
Yeah, it's quicker, and administered arbitration just cannot match with the ad hoc arbitration. And this is also one of the reasons why the administered arbitration, in the administered arbitration, they devise such kind of emergency arbitrator. Yeah. The reason why they have this emergency arbitrator is because they cannot establish an arbitral tribunal as quickly as possible. Usually they spend a month, 2 months, or 3 months to establish a tribunal, but then, well, everything gone.
So is it the same case in London, in Hong Kong, or in elsewhere? Right?
And also, I think another reason why shipping people prefer ad hoc arbitration is because of the arbitrators. Experienced maritime arbitrators know the business well. And they understand what the parties want. And they know the arbitration procedures well. And as a result, there are fewer internal arguments on interlocutory matters. And that's why shipping people would like to resolve the dispute by their peer. And I would also add that another reason is the arbitration rules. I think you may heard that you may hear that most of the maritime disputes are actually resolved in accordance with the LMA terms or the Hong Kong Met terms, which are substantially the same as the LMA terms. Shipping people, shipping lawyers know the terms well, and it avoids unnecessary interlocutory application. And this reduces the cost of the arbitration. So I would say that this is something administered arbitration just cannot do. So coming back to your question, I agree that institutions have their role. But in the context of maritime arbitration, I expect that the trend will remain that the majority of arbitration, maritime arbitration, will still be resolved by way of an ad hoc arbitration.
That's why arbitrator is so important, more important than arbitration center in maritime dispute, which I always agree. And because when I read your books and in my career, I also experienced the same. Because when at the beginning in Hong Kong, in early 2000, there were no administered arbitration rules in Hong Kong. Until 2005, there was a HKRAC procedure, work in conjunction with the UNCITRAL rule to administer arbitration. And the administered rule came, the full set of administered rules in Hong Kong came in 2008, and HKRAC. And now, but it applies to all industry. But another point I would like to learn is, I know that it's a little bit complicated when an arbitration center to administer the maritime dispute. But how about the interim measures? Like, for example, we have an interim measure arrangement between Mainland China and Hong Kong to help party to freeze assets, to protect evidence in Mainland China. Would that help arbitration in maritime?
We have conducted a seminar yesterday on interim measure. It is part of it was part of the of Hong Kong Maritime Week event. The seminar was organized by the Hong Kong Maritime Arbitration Group, and we had invited two China Maritime Court judges coming, joining us and sharing their experience on this interim measure. Well, of course, interim measure is something that I would say well known to shipping people. Not for those people, I say, for example, who has no experience in arbitration or litigation, they will not think about interim measure, because they seldom come across a situation where they need to fight with others, right?
Exactly.
But in shipping, my experience is that many shipping people actually have experience and know the importance of obtaining information. But these are something that we come across daily, and we think about it daily, because whenever there is a dispute arises, then we need to think about this. So interim measure, but to us, it's very important. It's very important. But it is not easy, I would say, in terms of arbitration to obtain a workable interim measures, because, for example, in the context of shipping disputes, sometimes you need to enforce an order. Even if you can obtain an order, either from the court or from the tribunal, you need to enforce the order. Say, for example, not in Hong Kong, but in somewhere around the world. Then you need to depend on whether the national court will support you, will accept to enforce the interim measure order. But in Hong Kong, coming back to the arrangement that you have just mentioned, it is an arrangement between Hong Kong and China. And I would say that it is a very useful arrangement for the commercial people who have who are doing business with the Chinese counterpart, or with some Chinese related transaction, because if there are disputes, then you may think of you may have a means to obtain interim measures directly from the Chinese courts.
Yes.
You do not need to go to the tribunal asking for their assistance, but then you can just apply to the Chinese court and asking for their help. And a court order, to a great extent, is of course much forceful than a tribunal order.
Yes. Yes.
So if we want to utilize or take the advantage of this arrangement, I think all we need to do is to agree to arbitrate your dispute before one of the eligible institutions.
Yes.
As per their institutional rules. Say, for example, HKIC is one of the eligible institutions. Hong Kong MAC are also, and AALCO, AALCO is also an eligible institution in the context of maritime arbitration. If the parties agree to arbitrate the dispute in accordance with our procedures for administered arbitration under the Hong Kong MAC terms, then this is an arbitration administered by us. Yeah. Then what the party need to do? All they need to do is to advise us at the time when they commence the arbitration that there is an arbitration, and then to keep us informed of the progress of the arbitration. That's all.
Okay, and you really stand behind, right?
Yeah, but actually, it is the arbitrators who will do the work, not the institution.
I see.
I mean, under that arrangement, under that procedures, not Hong Kong MAC to oversee the.
So there is no formal commencement of arbitration. How they trigger? It is the same procedure.
The same procedure as we do in ad hoc or on ad hoc basis. So either ad hoc arbitration or administered arbitration.
But the parties name the Hong Kong MAC in their clause.
I see. Both types of arbitration are still conducted under the Hong Kong MAC terms.
I see.
Yeah. If you choose our procedures, then all you need to do is to pay a registration fee of 1,000 Hong Kong dollar.
That will increase the difficulty of commencing the arbitration. So I think that's worth paying. I think that will be making administered arbitration a little bit more attractive to maritime dispute.
I would remind you that we do not charge an administrative fee, and we will not ask the parties to make upfront payment for the tribunal costs. So only 1,000. And if there is an application under the arrangement, then we will help the parties to use the relevant documentations free of charge. That's all.
That's very competitive. The other qualified institutions should learn about your rules and to maybe make up.
But you need someone crazy enough, like the members of our group, to do the work free of charge.
Of course. So that's why in Hong Kong, the arbitration center is getting more and more diverse. And we now have at least 7 arbitration centers in Hong Kong listed in the arrangement for interim measure between Hong Kong and Mainland China. And as Danny mentioned, most has been conducted still in very ad hoc basis. But maybe the only one attractive thing is if you seek for interim measure and support or help, and you might need to name one of the organization as the body that will help you to freeze the access to like Mariva injunction, something like that. That will help you to do some access protection and evidence protection in Mainland China. So that's very helpful. That's the only one key point that institution arbitration can win over the ad hoc in the context of maritime. But that's good enough. That's very good to know, and it's a good change. And we look forward more institution. And we have just completed one arbitration hearing in this. It is also on ad hoc basis. The parties to dispute, they're looking for hearing venue. They agree in their arbitration agreement with no arbitration center. But some of my friends just call up me and can you give us a room for hearing? So that why not just come to here? And this room is good for hearing for small case, and we have other venue as well. Any other new types of dispute from your industry, from maritime?
Well, I think we handle a variety of maritime disputes, ranging from charter parties, sale of goods dispute to shipbuilding contract disputes, cargo claims, bills of lading matters to marine insurance dispute, and even crew contract disputes and ship management disputes. I think the disputes that we come across are mainly market driven. Say, for example, between 08 and 15, we handled a large number of default and repudiation cases concerning charter parties, sale of goods contract, and shipbuilding contracts due to the collapse of the financial market triggered by the Lehman Brothers. Yeah. And in the past 2 or 3 years, we were involved in some delay and frustration cases in respect of the charter parties and sale of goods contract due to COVID-19, due to the effects of COVID-19.
Wow.
And there were also some disputes in relation to the delay in loading or selling the vessel due to the conflict between Ukraine and Russia.
Wow.
And recently, I saw some disputes concerning sanctioned cargoes or sanctioned parties. So you can see the types of maritime disputes that we come across are related to what is happening around the world.
Wow.
And these kind of events usually affect shipping and trading.
So, take for example, you mentioned sanction. So, what is the impact? Because it is not the theme or subject of this talk, but just to learn a little bit, what are the implications to arbitration? Like, for example, to arbitrator, lawyer, or maybe arbitration center's perspective.
If you are facing with sanctioned parties, then you may be facing tons of arguments. Say, for example, on repudiation, frustration, but not necessarily easy to claim for frustration.
Force majeure, maybe.
Yeah, force majeure, it depends very much on the terms of the contract, whether there is a force majeure clause in it. And sometimes because of the sanctioned parties, the contractual parties would do something to get around this problem, and then they will enter another contract, and other dispute will arise because of this arrangement.
I guess you can write another book like this. So it's very, very good to learn about that. So Now coming back to Hong Kong, because in also our chief executive policy address and also the third plenum in China, promote Hong Kong as a logistic hub. But in fact, we have already been very in a leading position. We are very strong in logistics, also in maritime dispute resolution. But it seems that the community wants us to be stronger. Also, the policy also mentioned maritime insurance and maritime finance. But Hong Kong is also a financial center for a long time. But how can these two professional services, maybe three professional services, insurance, finance, and arbitration services or legal services, help make Hong Kong a better place, a stronger place for logistics and maritime? What are the interconnection with these finance, insurance, and dispute resolution?
Well, in my view, we are heading to the right direction because we have to do this high-end value-added services. Or otherwise, I feel a bit difficult. I mean, for Hong Kong to remain or to survive as a international shipping or financial hub. And when we talk about maritime arbitration, marine insurance, shipping finance, I will not say that we are doing very good at the moment. Yeah, but there are room that we can improve our service. It all depends on whether we can attract more business coming to Hong Kong. If we can attract more business coming to Hong Kong, then there will be more people providing professional service, and we can learn from doing business. But at this moment, say for example, when we talk about maritime arbitration, of course we know that we are facing a steep competition from other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
And well,
that's my question.
Yeah.
I would like to ask how to compare and how we make ourselves better.
Yeah, the most exciting achievement that we have, I mean, in maritime arbitration, is the establishment of the Hong Kong Maritime Arbitration Group. Yeah. The group was formally registered as an independent arbitration body in 2019. To give you some background information, the group actually was formed in 2000. In 2000, by a group of shipping professionals in Hong Kong. Yeah, it was originally a part of the Hong Kong International Arbitration Center. Yes. The aim, of course, was to promote the use of Hong Kong for resolving maritime disputes. But at that time, I would say that the business of the group was a bit low profile, but not the member. The members were and are still experienced and reputable arbitrators, shipping and legal professionals who work and live in Hong Kong. Yeah. And since the establishment of the Hong Kong Maritime Arbitration Group, then we devised an arbitration clause, which we encourage the parties to incorporate it into their contracts. Yep. We maintain a list of experienced arbitrators for the parties to choose. And also we adopted the IMA terms as the Hong Kong Met terms with the kind permissions. And nearly at the same time, Hong Kong was named as one of the 4 venues, arbitration venues by BIMCO in the standard law and arbitration clause. And well, all these are very exciting news to us. And I would say this is a kind of recognition that actually Hong Kong can do maritime arbitration. And actually we have been doing maritime arbitration for more than, I would say, 30 or 40 years.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, it is not a long history when compared with other places like London. Yeah. But in this region, in Asia, I think we have a long history in terms of resolving maritime disputes. And regarding marine insurance and shipping finance, I think we are business as usual. My understanding is that our marine insurance brokers have a very successful and active operations in this region. Not only Hong Kong, not only China, but in this region, in the Asia region, helping the users to connect the underwriters and P&I clubs around the world. And we talking about P&I clubs, we most of the P&I clubs have their offices in Hong Kong. And regarding marine underwriters, we have few marine underwriters, but I understand that the government wants to attract more marine underwriters to set up their business in Hong Kong. And there is some kind of tax relief for them. The government has some tax concession for ship leasing, and they are increasing activities in ship finance and ship leasing operation in Hong Kong. And what I heard, but I have no insider information, is that the government will continue to provide some kind of financial support to try to enhance and strengthen the position of Hong Kong as an international and international financial and shipping hub. So these are the high-end value-added services that I think we can offer to not only our customer in Hong Kong, in China, but also around this region, say in Taiwan, Singapore, Japan.
I see. That's wonderful. That's very good sharing and very good to know. And that's a great interpretation of Hong Kong is a value adder, because our chief executive always says Hong Kong is a super connector, a value adder. And so that value added service is very important. And if we have these three services readily or closely related to each other and make it available. And so another point I want to ask is, would Hong Kong as a gateway to China will help boom, or how we can seize the opportunity of the proximity to China, the Great China market, and to help to grow the shipping industry in Hong Kong?
Well, I think the opportunities are enormous. There are huge activities in shipping and trade in China. But in the context of maritime arbitration, there is no secret that London is still dominating this area. But Hong Kong, I would say we are well positioned to share a slice of business. Why? I think the most important point is our law. Many maritime contracts are governed by English common law. Under the principle of one country, two system, Hong Kong retain and continue to use English common law as our law. Shipping people or trading people who used to regulate their business in accordance with English law actually would find no difficulty in arbitrating the disputes in Hong Kong, either under English law or Hong Kong law, because the common law principle and interpretation of Hong Kong law and English law are actually very similar. So people who used to regulate their business in accordance with English law actually would find no difficulty in regulating their business in Hong Kong law or English law. And this is I would say the most important point. And another point I would say is, in Hong Kong we have a strong pool of shipping lawyers who has been assisting users since the 80s in arbitrating the disputes in London or in Hong Kong, in Singapore. And also we have a group of experienced arbitrators who can arbitrate either in London or Hong Kong. As I just said, we know the business and we understand the need of the users, and also I think we better understand about the effect of cultural differences between the East and West. And some of the arbitrators here are bilingual, which means that
Save costs.
we can reduce the cost of translation.
Yes, exactly.
There is also another point that I would like to point out. The reasons why Hong Kong can share a slice of business actually are something that London are doing at the right moment. If you are talking about interpretation, I can hire an interpreter to do the same job.
Yeah.
If you are talking about English law, then well, London is applying English law. So why Hong Kong? Right? Why Hong Kong? But I think there is a point that I would like to draw your attention is about the effects of the arguments on illegality and sanction due to the public policy of the UK government. We know that there is a long list of sanctioned parties, sanctioned cargoes, etc., from the US and also from the UK, and these kind of sanctioned matters will bring tons of arguments like illegality, and also will affect the enforcement of the award issued by say for example by the London arbitrators, and there's no such risk in Hong Kong because we do not have anything about sanction. And in fact, I have seen some Russia's related transactions coming to Hong Kong for arbitration. You talk about the opportunities in China. I would say that Hong Kong can offer a professional, fair and neutral platform for resolving maritime disputes, and I would urge our legal professions to waste no time to seize this opportunity, doing more promotional work, trying to attract more business, showing why you should come to Hong Kong.
Exactly. Thank you for this great sharing. But one for the interest of time, allow me to ask one more last question, and then I will open to the floor.
Yeah.
And we have been talking a lot of green shipping, and green shipping has been the main theme of this arbitration, the Maritime Week. Mm-hmm. And so, what are the opportunities that green shipping? So what is first? What is the green shipping about? And what is green shipping can bring opportunity to arbitration, and how lawyer arbitrator to seize the opportunity?
Well, I think green shipping is a hot topic from the technical side to the commercial side. It is a very hot topic right now for shipping. I think the regulations of the IMO and EU require aim at reducing the emission of carbon dioxide to zero emission. And as you just said, there are a lot of work to do, from shipbuilding to sourcing clean energy. But in terms of in the context of maritime arbitrations, the regulations requires steps to be taken to control and measure the carbon intensity emission. And this requires the cooperation and collaboration between ship owners and time charterers, etc. And in the event of violation of the regulations, then the ships will be detained and even fined by port state controls. And because of that, I expected that there would be more dispute coming from this area.
For the interest of time, and indeed I have a long list of questions I can ask for 2 hours. But Danny, I enjoy listening and learning from Danny as always. I did. And now, any question from the floor? Yes, Bill, please. Our independent full-time arbitrator.
You ask and then you answer yourself.
Well, I'm not sure I can. I need your help, Danny. Danny, do you think, this is just thinking in terms of Chinese users of arbitration, from your perspective, do you think there's anything that Chinese users should pay attention to, or that they should improve when they're involved in maritime arbitration?
When you said improvement, you are talking about how to improve the success rate of the case in dealing with arbitration.
I guess.
Yeah. So I think it is really a question that we can sit here discussing for days. But I would talk about the preparation of evidence. The Chinese parties, they do not like to keep the evidence in documents, by way of documents, and they used to communicate with each other by way of the instant messaging applications such as WeChat, and more often than not, when we look at these evidence, actually we as an arbitrator, we need to guess what they are saying, because they actually they talked about many things in the exchange of WeChats. So you need to find out what are the relevant evidence from these instant messages that they exchanged during the conversation. Yeah.
Is that because Westerners would be communicating by
email? Yeah.
Slightly more formal than the WeChat?
Yeah. We had a seminar in Shanghai promoting Hong Kong Maritime Arbitration. A friend of mine came to me and said what we should do to better prepare ourselves for arbitration. I said you better communicate by way of email rather than using WeChat.
But I guess it's very difficult to change. I use WeChat more than email nowadays. You send email to Chinese, mainland Chinese user, they will never reply your email. But I send the WeChat message, they will reply in seconds.
They are not keeping records in writing. The life of the arbitrator is very difficult because when the dispute arises, they need to give oral evidence to support what they have done. I would say those evidence, it will be very hard for the arbitrator to accept, especially without any support from a piece of written document. And therefore, I told my friend that you better keep a better record for what you have done, not only for better management of the company stuff, but also to prepare yourself for any dispute which you may be facing in the future when either in arbitration or in other litigation all over the world. You know, because it is a shipping business, ships go everywhere, and well, you need to prepare yourself, especially for the shipboard records and also for the records transmitted from the ship to back to the company. This is something that I strongly advise them to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. Very practical and interesting question, and very excellent answer. But I believe I agree that we can talk for days on that. That's a lot of funny things that we can share. And so, any other further question or comment? Any? David, would like to share something? No, yes, the lady.
When you're in China, what interests Chinese users of arbitration most about HKMG? What do you think is the most important selling point for Chinese users?
A good question. A good question. And I think it is about the expertise that we can offer to the Chinese company. We are not selling ourselves as an institution which is being part of China. I don't think it is something which attracts any user. But we sell our expertise, we sell our arbitrators, and they, to me, I think they understand what we are doing in Hong Kong, and and some of the lawyers that I came across actually told me that they recommend their clients to amend the arbitration clause to Hong Kong.
I'm just wondering if they're interested that it's so close and it's the same time zone.
Maybe or maybe not, because I mean, in the context of maritime arbitration, time difference is actually is not a dominating factor.
Well, unless you need it here.
About 80% of the cases are resolved on documents only. So time difference, I think, is not affecting the choice of the users to decide which venue they would prefer to arbitrate their disputes.
For institutional, the need for large deposits up front, compare it to ad hoc, where the arbitrators, in a sense, will extend credit in terms of doing all the work and then saying, our award is now available for collection.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to answer this, but out of 100 awards, how many are not collected? This is a very personal question.
So far, one.
Okay.
But it was not related to maritime disputes. I received an instruction from a law firm in Hong Kong concerning a general commercial dispute. I published an award. They paid the first award, and then they asked me to assess their cost. I published a cost award, and they did not pay.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Danny. May I invite all of you to give Danny a big applause. Thank you for very insightful sharing.